All right, ready to dive deep into some peptide action.
Let's do it.
Today, it's all about this super trio you keep hearing about. BPC-157, TB-500, and GHK-Cu. We got a whole stack of research to go through, so let's break it all down. Does this combo really live up to the hype?
You know, a little skepticism is always a good thing. What I find interesting is how these peptides each target different parts of healing and recovery.
Yeah.
And when you put them together, that's when things get really exciting. We're seeing everyone getting on board, from athletes trying to recover faster
Yeah.
to biohackers pushing their limits, even people looking to maybe slow down aging.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued, but before we get ahead of ourselves, let's rewind a bit. Where did these peptides even come from?
Well, each one has its own origin story, and some are more surprising than others.
Okay.
Let's start with BPC-157. It was first discovered as a protective protein found in, get this, gastric juice.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me a potential healing compound comes from stomach acid. That's kind of amazing and scary at the same time.
Right. Turns out it's vital for protecting the stomach lining. Researchers wondered if it did the same thing elsewhere in the body, and, well, let's just say things got interesting.
Okay, so we've got stomach acid superhero. Got it. What about TB-500?
TB-500 is a synthetic version of a natural peptide called thymosin beta-4. Scientists first found it because of its role in wound healing and tissue repair.
So we're already seeing a theme here, healing and repair.
Yeah.
And lastly, we have GHK-Cu, which seems to be everywhere right now, especially in the beauty world.
Right. GHK-Cu, or copper peptide, has definitely earned its reputation as a skincare star. It was discovered back in the 1970s and quickly became known for its ability to regenerate skin.
Okay, so we have our stomach protector, our wound healer, and our skin rejuvenator. Quite a lineup. But how do these peptides actually work their magic inside the body? What's the science behind it all?
Now, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
BPC-157, for example, is known for stimulating angiogenesis, which basically means it helps grow new blood vessels.
So more blood vessels means injured tissues get nutrients and oxygen faster, like a superhighway for repair crews to reach the damaged site.
Exactly. That translates into faster recovery from injuries and maybe even better athletic performance.
Wow.
And as if that wasn't enough, BPC-157 is also a strong anti-inflammatory, so it reduces swelling and pain.
Okay, BPC-157 is sounding pretty impressive already. What about TB-500? How does it help with healing?
TB-500 is great at cell migration and proliferation.
Okay.
Think of it as the construction crew rebuilding damaged tissue. It does this by increasing production of a protein called actin, which is essential for cells to move and multiply.
So it's not just patching things up, it's rebuilding better and stronger.
That's it. And like BPC-157, TB-500 also has those anti-inflammatory properties, helping calm things down at the injury site so healing can happen more smoothly.
And rounding out our trio, we have our skincare star, GHK-Cu. What's its special talent?
GHK-Cu is all about collagen. It stimulates production of this essential protein that gives our skin its structure, elasticity, and that youthful plumpness we all want.
So it's not just about getting rid of wrinkles, it's about creating healthy, vibrant skin from within.
That's right. And here's something interesting. GHK-Cu isn't just about looks. It's also a powerful wound healer, helps regenerate tissue, minimizes scars, and might even boost hair growth.
Wow, they all seem like overachievers. But here's the million-dollar question. What happens when you put them all together? Is that where the super trio magic really comes in?
That's the exciting part.
Okay.
The research is still in progress, but early findings suggest that combining these peptides creates a powerful synergy. It's like this. BPC-157 preps the area by increasing blood flow and reducing inflammation.
Okay.
Then TB-500 comes in with its construction crew to boost cell regeneration and rebuild damaged tissue. And finally, GHK-Cu adds the finishing touches, boosting collagen for stronger, healthier tissue.
Okay, I'm picturing it now. But let's get specific. What kinds of real-world benefits are people actually seeing with this combo?
One of the biggest things people are talking about is faster injury recovery. Athletes especially are saying how quickly they're bouncing back from injuries. We're talking tendinitis, ligament tears, muscle strains, the whole gamut.
So it's not just anecdotal, there's actual science backing this up.
Yes, there are more and more studies and case reports suggesting this peptide combination can really shorten healing times. For instance, there was a study in the Journal of Orthopedic Research that found BPC-157 and TB-500 together actually sped up healing of Achilles tendon injuries in rats.
That's really cool. Now, a lot of our listeners aren't professional athletes. Are there benefits for the everyday person dealing with everyday aches and pains?
Absolutely. This trio isn't just for elite athletes. It's showing potential in helping people manage chronic pain, especially joint pain associated with things like osteoarthritis.
So instead of just masking the pain, it's about tackling the root cause by reducing inflammation and promoting actual healing.
Precisely. Remember, BPC-157 and TB-500 both have those potent anti-inflammatory properties. By reducing inflammation in the joints, they can potentially ease pain and improve mobility.
That's fantastic news for anyone who's ever dealt with joint pain.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget about the skin benefits of GHK-Cu. Can this peptide really turn back the clock on aging?
While it's not a fountain of youth, GHK-Cu has shown some pretty remarkable anti-aging effects. Studies have found it can reduce wrinkles, improve skin elasticity, and even promote wound healing with less scarring.
So it really works. It's not just clever marketing.
Exactly. GHK-Cu seems to stimulate a bunch of processes that are essential for keeping skin healthy and young-looking.
All right, so we've covered a lot. Where these peptides come from, how they work individually and as a team, and some of the potential benefits. But before we get too carried away, let's address some of the common myths and misconceptions about this super trio.
Good idea. It's really important to separate fact from fiction, especially when dealing with something as powerful as peptides. One myth I hear all the time is that peptides are only for athletes.
I've heard that too, like there's some kind of performance-enhancing drug just for elite competitors.
Right, and that's simply not true. Athletes definitely benefit from peptides, but anyone can potentially benefit from their healing and recovery properties. It could be an injury, chronic pain, or just wanting to support overall health and well-being.
So it's not about getting an unfair advantage. It's about maximizing your body's own healing power.
Exactly. Another myth I want to debunk is that GHK-Cu is just a beauty peptide. Sure, it's great for skin, but its benefits go way beyond just wrinkles.
It's more than just a fancy face cream ingredient.
Absolutely. Remember, it's a strong wound healer, plays a role in tissue regeneration, and has anti-inflammatory properties. Those benefits can help with a wide range of health issues.
That's an important distinction. So we've busted the myths about peptides being just for athletes and GHK-Cu being all about looks. Any other misconceptions we should clear up?
One that comes up a lot is the idea that more is always better. People think higher doses will lead to faster results, but that's not necessarily true with peptides.
So mega dosing isn't the way to go?
Nope, not at all. In fact, excessive doses can be ineffective or even lead to unwanted side effects.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot, the optimal dose for you. Speaking of which, let's get practical. What forms do these peptides come in and how are they usually taken?
This is where things get a bit technical, and it's important to remember we're not giving medical advice. You should always consult a qualified healthcare professional before starting any new treatment. But generally, BPC-157 and TB-500 are usually available as injectables.
So we're talking about subcutaneous injections, kind of like how someone might inject insulin?
Yes, that's the most common way for those two. GHK-Cu, on the other hand, you can get in both topical and injectable forms.
Interesting. So you could apply it directly to the skin as a cream or serum, or go for injections for a more widespread effect.
You got it. The choice often depends on what you're hoping to achieve. If you're mainly focused on skin benefits, topical GHK-Cu might be enough.
Right.
But for things like wound healing, injections might be a better option.
Okay, so we've got injections and topicals. What about dosage? Is there a typical recommendation for each peptide?
Again, it's really important to emphasize that dosage should always be personalized and determined by a healthcare professional.
Of course.
But just to give you a general idea, typical BPC-157 doses range from 200 to 500 micrograms once or twice a day. For TB-500, it's usually 2 to 5 milligrams twice a week at first, then reduced to once a week. And for GHK-Cu, a common dose is 2 to 5 milligrams once or twice a week.
Okay, so those are good starting points, but everyone is different. It sounds like working with a healthcare professional is key. Are there any best practices for making these peptides as effective as possible once you have your personalized plan?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First of all, using high-quality peptides from a reputable source is crucial.
Right.
Purity and quality make a huge difference in how well a peptide works.
So not all peptides are made the same. There's a real difference between getting them from a trusted supplier versus buying something online from who knows where.
You got it. Research your suppliers and make sure you trust them. Another good practice is to start with a low dose and gradually increase it as needed.
Okay.
This lets your body get used to the peptides and minimizes the chance of any side effects.
Kind of like easing into a new exercise routine.
Exactly. And actually, some people find it helpful to time their injections around their workouts,
Yeah.
like injecting BPC-157 or TB-500 after a workout to enhance recovery.
Like giving your body an extra healing boost right when it needs it most. Smart.
That's the idea. And lastly, always pay attention to how your body reacts. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
If something doesn't feel right, adjust your dosage or protocol, and definitely talk to your doctor.
Great advice. It's about listening to your body and working with your doctor to fine-tune your approach. Now, let's change gears and talk about who might get the most out of this super trio. Is it just athletes, or are there other groups who might find this combo especially useful?
Well, we've talked about how athletes are a good fit for this peptide combination, but they're definitely not the only ones. Older adults, for instance, might also find this combo really beneficial. As we age, our bodies naturally make less collagen, which can lead to wrinkles, sagging skin, and even joint pain. GHK-Cu can help with that by stimulating collagen production.
So could this peptide trio help slow down the visible signs of aging and promote healthier joints? I'm sure a lot of our listeners are interested in that.
You bet. But it's not just about looks. Increasing collagen production can also improve joint mobility and reduce pain, which is so important for staying active and independent as we age.
That's a major quality of life boost for sure. What about BPC-157 and TB-500 in the context of aging?
Well, like collagen production, our natural healing abilities also decline as we get older. BPC-157 and TB-500 can help counteract this
Right.
by speeding up wound healing, reducing inflammation, and promoting tissue regeneration.
It's almost like giving your body a little extra support as it ages to help it stay strong and bounce back.
Exactly. This can be especially helpful for older adults recovering from injuries or surgeries, or dealing with chronic pain.
Okay, we've talked about athletes and older adults. Now, let's move on to a group that I'm always interested in, the biohackers. Those people who are always pushing the limits of human potential and looking for ways to optimize their health and performance.
They're a fascinating bunch. Always up for trying the latest and greatest techniques. This trio is definitely on their radar for a few reasons.
I can see why.
First off, it's a natural way to boost recovery and reduce inflammation, which fits right in with their whole philosophy of using natural methods to improve their bodies. Plus, there are those potential anti-aging benefits. Remember, biohackers are all about longevity and extending their health span. They're not just looking to live longer, they want to live better for longer.
It's not just about adding years to your life, it's about adding life to your years.
Exactly. And on top of that, the possibility of this combo improving cognitive function and mental clarity is really exciting.
So it's a full body optimization approach targeting both physical and mental performance. That definitely sounds like something biohackers would be into.
Absolutely. But it's important to remember that biohacking, while exciting, should always be done with caution.
Not every biohack is a good hack, right?
Right. It's about doing your research and understanding the risks before you start experimenting on yourself.
Exactly.
You need to work with a healthcare professional who knows what they're doing and get your peptides from reputable sources.
So safety first, but with an adventurous spirit. Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about combining the super trio with other peptides. Can you give us some specific examples of how that might work?
Sure. One popular combination is adding NAD plus AA, a coenzyme that's super important for cellular energy and DNA repair.
So it's like taking this super trio to a whole new level by adding a powerful cellular rejuvenation element. What kind of effects might people see with that?
Well, some people believe this combination can boost cellular health, increase energy levels, and maybe even slow down aging. Another popular combo is adding CJC-1295DA, a peptide that triggers the release of growth hormone.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. So we're talking about potentially amplifying the effects of the super trio by adding a growth hormone boost. What would be the main benefits of that?
Great question. CJC-1295DC can enhance muscle growth, speed up recovery, and help with fat burning. It's a popular choice for athletes and bodybuilders.
Wow, that's quite a powerful combination. Are there any other interesting combinations out there?
Some people combine this peptide trio with semaglutide, which was originally a medication for type 2 diabetes.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's been getting a lot of attention for its potential weight loss benefits.
You're right. It was initially developed for diabetes, but it's shown promise for weight management too. Combining it with this peptide trio could be helpful for people who want to lose weight while also dealing with injuries, inflammation, or skin issues.
It's fascinating how these different peptides can be combined to create personalized solutions for different needs.
Exactly. It's all about having a holistic approach to health and well-being, addressing multiple goals at once. But I can't stress this enough. Always talk to a healthcare professional before mixing peptides.
Such an important point. It sounds like they can help you figure out the right combinations, dosages, and protocols for you.
Absolutely. They can help you navigate this complex world safely and effectively.
So we've talked about the benefits of the super trio on its own and explored some exciting combinations. But let's be real. What about the potential risks and side effects of using peptides? What should people know before they start down this road?
That's a smart question to ask. Peptides are generally considered safe when used responsibly and with guidance from a healthcare professional. But there are some potential risks and side effects you should be aware of.
Okay, so it's not completely risk-free. What are some things to keep in mind?
One common side effect is reactions at the injection site, like some redness, swelling, or itching. These are usually mild and temporary, and you can minimize them by using the right injection techniques and switching up injection sites.
So a little bit of discomfort at the injection site, but nothing too serious.
Exactly. Another possible side effect is fatigue or feeling sluggish. This is more common with peptides that affect growth hormone levels, like CJC-1295.
I guess it makes sense that you might feel a little tired if your body is working hard to repair and rebuild.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes people might experience some stomach upset, like nausea or diarrhea. This is more common with peptides that affect the digestive system, like BPC-157.
So being aware of the potential side effects and discussing them with your healthcare provider is key.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that everyone reacts differently to peptides. What works for one person might not work for another, and what's safe for one person might not be safe for someone else.
So it's all about finding what works for you. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
That's it. That's why it's so important to work with a healthcare professional who can help you figure out the right peptides, dosages, and protocols for your specific needs and goals.
That makes perfect sense. It seems like having a doctor who understands peptides and takes a personalized approach is absolutely essential.
It's absolutely essential.
Well, we've covered a lot in this episode. We've learned about the origins of these peptides, dived into the science behind them, talked about potential benefits and risks, and even touched on some interesting combinations and future possibilities.
It's been quite a journey. And we've stressed the importance of using them responsibly, getting them from good sources, and working with a healthcare professional.
Absolutely. These are powerful tools with a lot of potential, but it's important to treat them with respect and caution.
Definitely. Welcome back. Before the break, we were just starting to talk about how this peptide trio could help specific groups.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how these tiny molecules can have such a big impact on the body. I'm curious to see how they can be used in different situations.
Me too. So let's start with athletes. They're always looking for ways to recover faster and improve performance.
Right, they're constantly pushing their bodies to the limit, so it makes sense they'd be interested in something like this.
Exactly. Think about the stress they put on their joints, muscles, and tendons. This combo of BPC-157, TB-500, and GHK-Cu could be a real game changer for them.
Okay.
BPC-157 speeds up healing and boosts blood vessel growth, so it could really help with common sports injuries like muscle strains or sprains and even tendon or ligament damage.
Wow, that's impressive. So it's like giving their body's natural healing process a boost.
That's a great way to put it. And then we have TB-500, which is all about enhancing cell migration and proliferation. That's crucial for rebuilding those damaged tissues. TB-500 can help athletes recover faster from those nagging soft tissue injuries that can sideline them for weeks.
So they're back in action sooner, maybe even stronger than before.
Exactly. And we can't forget about GHK-Cu. While it's known for its skin benefits, it also helps reduce inflammation and promote healing, which is key for athletes.
Right, because they're always pushing their limits, so managing inflammation is crucial.
Absolutely. Now, what about older adults? We talked about them briefly before, but can you say more about how this super trio could help them?
Yeah, I'm really interested in that.
As we age, our bodies naturally produce less collagen, and that can lead to those telltale signs of aging: wrinkles, sagging skin, and joint pain. GHK-Cu can help counter those changes by stimulating collagen production.
So this peptide trio could potentially slow down the visible signs of aging and support healthier joints. I bet a lot of people would love to hear more about that.
For sure. And it's not just about how you look, it's about how you feel.
Right.
Increasing collagen production can also improve joint mobility and reduce pain, which is really important for staying active and independent as you get older.
That's a huge quality of life improvement. And what about BPC-157 and TB-500 for aging?
Well, along with collagen production, our ability to heal naturally also declines with age. BPC-157 and TB-500 can potentially help counteract this by speeding up wound healing, reducing inflammation, and promoting tissue regeneration.
It's like giving your body a little extra support as it gets older, helping it stay resilient.
Exactly. This can be really beneficial for older adults who are recovering from injuries or surgeries or who are dealing with chronic pain.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've covered athletes and older adults. Now, let's talk about a group that always fascinates me, the biohackers. Those folks who are always pushing the boundaries of human potential and looking for ways to optimize their health and performance.
Oh, they're a fascinating group for sure. Always eager to experiment and try new things.
Yeah.
This peptide trio is definitely on their radar for a few reasons. For starters, it's a natural way to enhance recovery and reduce inflammation, which aligns perfectly with their philosophy of using natural methods to improve their bodies.
Right, and then there are the potential anti-aging benefits, which I'm sure are a big draw for them.
Absolutely. Biohackers are often really interested in longevity and extending their health span. They don't just want to live longer, they want to live better for longer.
It's not just about adding years to your life, it's about adding life to your years, right?
That's exactly it. And then there's the potential for this combo to improve cognitive function and mental clarity, which is really exciting for a lot of them.
So it's a holistic approach to optimization, targeting both the body and the mind. That definitely sounds like something that would appeal to biohackers.
It does, but it's important to remember that biohacking, while exciting, should always be approached with caution.
Right. Not every biohack is a good hack, and it's important to do your research and understand the risks before you jump in.
Absolutely. Working with a knowledgeable healthcare professional and sourcing peptides from reputable suppliers is crucial.
So safety first, but with an adventurous spirit. Now, before we move on, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about combining this super trio with other peptides. Can you give us some specific examples of how that might work?
Of course. One common combination is adding NAD plus all, a coenzyme that's really important for cellular energy and DNA repair.
So it's like supercharging the super trio with a powerful cellular rejuvenation component.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
What kinds of effects might people experience from that?
Well, some people think this combination enhances cellular health, boosts energy levels, and could even help slow down aging. Another popular combo is adding CJC-1295-DC, a peptide that stimulates the release of growth hormone.
Okay, now we're talking. So we're potentially amplifying the effects of this super trio by adding a growth hormone boost. What would be the main benefits of doing that?
Well, CJC-1295-DC can enhance muscle growth, speed up recovery, and help with fat burning, so it's a popular choice for athletes and bodybuilders.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty powerful stack. Yeah. Are there any other interesting combinations out there?
Some people combine this peptide trio with semaglutide, which was originally a medication for type 2 diabetes.
Oh, right. It's been getting a lot of attention lately for its potential weight loss benefits.
Exactly. While it was first developed for diabetes, it's shown a lot of promise for weight management. Combining it with this super trio could be a good option for people who want to lose weight and also address injuries, inflammation, or skin concerns.
It's really interesting how these different peptides can be combined to create personalized solutions for different needs.
It really is. It's all about taking a holistic approach to health and well-being and addressing multiple goals at the same time. But it's so important to consult with a healthcare professional before combining peptides.
Absolutely. It sounds like they can help you figure out the right combinations, dosages, and protocols for your individual situation.
That's right. They can help you navigate this complex world safely and effectively.
So we've talked about the benefits of the super trio on its own, and now we've explored some exciting combinations. But let's be realistic for a minute. What about potential risks and side effects of using peptides? What should people know before they consider trying them?
That's a really important question. While peptides are generally considered safe when used responsibly and under the guidance of a healthcare professional, there are some potential risks and side effects to be aware of.
Okay, so it's not a completely risk-free thing. What are some things to keep in mind?
One of the most common side effects is injection site reactions, like redness, swelling, or itching. These are usually mild and don't last long, and you can minimize them by using proper injection techniques and rotating injection sites.
So just a little bit of discomfort at the injection site, but nothing too serious.
Right. Another potential side effect is fatigue, feeling a bit tired or sluggish. This is more common with peptides that affect growth hormone levels, like CJC-1295.
I guess it makes sense that if your body's working overtime to repair and regenerate, you might feel a little more tired than usual.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And in some cases, people might have some stomach upset, like nausea or diarrhea. This is more common with peptides that affect the digestive system, like BPC-157.
So it's all about being aware of the possible side effects and talking to your doctor about them, right?
Absolutely. And it's really important to remember that everyone reacts to peptides differently. What works well for one person might not work for another, and what's safe for one person might not be safe for someone else.
So it's all about finding what works for you individually. There's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to peptides.
That's exactly it. That's why working with a healthcare professional who can help you figure out the right peptides, dosages, and protocols for your specific needs and goals is so important.
It sounds like having a doctor who understands peptides and takes a personalized approach is absolutely crucial.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this episode. We've explored the origins of these peptides, the science behind them, the potential benefits and risks, and even touched on some exciting combinations and possibilities for the future.
We have. And we've emphasized how important it is to use peptides responsibly, source them from reputable places, and work with a healthcare professional.
Absolutely. It's clear that these are powerful tools with incredible potential, but they need to be treated with respect and caution. Now, as we wrap up part 2 of this deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the big picture. Could peptide therapy be the future of medicine?
That's a great question, and it's one that scientists and researchers are really exploring right now. It's a rapidly evolving field, and we're only just beginning to understand what peptides can do. They offer a level of specificity and targeted action that we haven't seen before in traditional medicine.
So instead of treating symptoms with broad-spectrum drugs that often come with a lot of side effects, peptides could allow us to target the underlying causes of illness at a cellular level.
Exactly. And that's why there's so much excitement and optimism surrounding this field. Peptides have the potential to revolutionize how we approach everything from injury recovery and pain management to anti-aging and even disease prevention.
That's an incredibly exciting prospect. It's not just about treating what's wrong, it's about optimizing our health and well-being on a much deeper level. It's almost like stepping into the realm of science fiction.
It really is. Peptides could even usher in a new era of personalized medicine, where treatments are tailored to each person's unique genetic makeup and health needs.
Wow, that sounds incredible. But before we get too carried away with those futuristic visions, let's bring things back down to earth for a moment. For our listeners who are intrigued by this super trio, what's the best way for them to start exploring peptide therapy?
The most important step is to find a qualified healthcare professional who can help. They can assess your individual needs, determine if peptides are right for you, and guide you on the right peptides, dosages, and protocols.
So it's about finding a healthcare provider who understands peptides and knows how to personalize treatment.
Exactly. And once you've found the right healthcare provider, be sure to do your research and find a reputable peptide supplier. The quality of the product can make a big difference in terms of both effectiveness and safety.
So it's about forming a strong partnership with your healthcare provider and a trusted supplier to make sure you're doing things safely and effectively.
That's the best way to approach it.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. I think it's safe to say that the world of peptides is both fascinating and complex. Hopefully this episode has given our listeners a much better understanding of this super trio and its potential.
It's been a pleasure sharing this information. I hope so too.
Now, before we wrap up this episode entirely, we have one last part to dive into. We'll be discussing an important aspect of peptide use that we haven't touched on yet. Make sure to stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore the legal and ethical considerations surrounding this fascinating field. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into BPC-157, TB-500, and GHK-Cu. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to talk about.
You're right. It's crucial to discuss the legal and ethical side of using peptides. It's a pretty new and constantly changing area, and there's a lot of confusion and misinformation out there.
Exactly. A lot of our listeners are probably wondering about the legality of these peptides. What's the deal with that?
Well, in the U.S., BPC-157, TB-500, and GHK-Cu are classified as research chemicals right now. That means they're legal to buy and have for research, but not for actually using as medicine or treatment.
So it's kind of a gray area. Not exactly illegal, but not FDA approved for medical use either. That's got to be tricky.
It definitely adds another layer of complexity to things. Even though you can buy them for research, you absolutely have to get them from reputable suppliers who have high standards for quality control.
That makes sense. You don't want to just buy something from some random place online without knowing what you're getting.
Exactly. Not all peptide suppliers are the same. You want to be sure you're getting a pure and potent product, so do your research. Look for suppliers who have third-party lab test results to prove what they're saying.
Transparency is so important, especially when it comes to something you're putting into your body. You mentioned that the legal status of these peptides can be different depending on where you are in the world.
That's right. Regulations can be really different from country to country. So if you're listening from outside the U.S., do your research on the rules in your specific location.
Okay, so it's a bit of a mixed bag legally. But aside from the legal aspects, what about the ethical considerations? Are there things we should be thinking about there too?
Definitely. Because it's still pretty new and not heavily regulated, there's always a risk of misuse or abuse.
Hmm.
It's like with any powerful tool.
So it's all about using this knowledge responsibly. Peptides aren't a magic bullet, and they shouldn't be treated as a shortcut to perfect health.
Exactly. It's about using them as part of a bigger approach to well-being, a healthy lifestyle, good nutrition, and exercise.
Right. It's understanding that peptides are powerful and not something to mess around with.
That's right. You need a qualified healthcare professional on your side, someone who knows about peptides and can guide you in the right direction.
It sounds like finding a knowledgeable healthcare provider who can take a personalized approach is absolutely key.
Absolutely. They can keep track of how you're doing and make any adjustments along the way to help you reach your goals safely and effectively.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything when it comes to this super trio of peptides. We've talked about the science, the potential benefits, the practical stuff, and now the legal and ethical side of things. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
It has been, and I think we've given our listeners a much better understanding of these really interesting molecules.
I hope so. It's an exciting time to be learning about these new therapies. As always, we encourage our listeners to keep learning, talk to their doctors, and make informed decisions about their health.
That's all for this episode of The Deep Dive.